Hello and welcome, or welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you a technique that I use for embellishing my layout when I'm not quite sure what I can do, when there aren't any bits of paper that fit nicely, when I don't have any ephemera that fit, and make my own. So you can see I've picked up the title already. This is from a title pack that Stampin' Up put out last year, and I've decided it's going to go up there. And I'm going to put my journaling on. I've got some pieces of card that I pre-cut that look a bit like notebook pages. I'm going to find one in an appropriate colour and put it up there. So I want to put an embellishment there, an embellishment there, and then something probably here. That's why I put this picture further over that way than that one. So I stamp and then colour in. And so I went and had a little look. I looked at this year's stamp and die set, and I could make something with the little squares. I could make something with those little squares. I could do something with these bigger squares. I could maybe cut out a pile of Christmas trees or some holly with berries and things. Maybe. So I kept that one in mind. And then I went to last year's. I picked up this one, the Christmas greenery, last year. Do you remember the paper that had foiling on it? And it had little flowers. And I also picked up the stamp and die set because then I can make my own in whatever colour I like. So if I want to put a bunch of blue flowers on my mum's birthday card, for example, I can. And they can be dark blue, or I can do yellow, or any colour I fancy. So yeah, I got the stamps and the dies, and but whilst that could work, I'm not really sure that it will work particularly well with this layout. It's just not quite right for this particular layout, with the trees in the background and this quilter star here and here. This bit was just offcuts, look. And one of these came out from the middle of this one. So I actually only had a 6-inch wide piece, and that's 8 by 6, and this is 6 by 4. So I cut one 4-inch piece off and then cut the other one out the middle, and got all three out of the same piece. But back to my decisions. I mean, I could use the Jar of Joy and put gingerbread men in, maybe, or actually that would work better, but I don't know. Do I want to have 3 of the same? I didn't actually get the baubles that were part of last year's kit, and I haven't got the baubles from this year either. But then, in the middle of my dilemma, and I just about kind of thought, well, I'll just do a jar for each one and then figure out what I'm doing afterwards, and maybe just do those down there instead of doing a jar, I don't know. And then this arrived. These are absolutely brilliant. I have been looking forward to these arriving. They are a new set of stamps, Joyful Friends. In fact, if I get paper out of the envelope, that'll make it easier to see. Joyful Friends, and it's got Merry and Happy, and then Christmas and Holidays, and For You, and then a Merry and Sweet Christmas Treat, which you could cut off the Christmas treat and have a Merry and Sweet Christmas for you, or however you want to put it. And then it's got some Australian animals, so we've got a koala, a kangaroo, 2 wombats and a kookaburra. I didn't expect that to be a tongue twister. So that solved my problem. I stamped those out. Oh yes, this was my other possibility, cutting out some of these squares and using them. But yeah, it wasn't right. It wasn't right for this particular layout. So I have some strips of 3-inch white card, and I thought I'll use that rather than the other option that I have is basic beige. And I tend to use the light side of basic beige when I'm stamping on things because it's quite close to white, but it gives me a nice neutral background that's not bright. But because there's white in this paper and also in this paper, but less of it, I thought I'd go with white for this one. And also my title is on white, so if I put basic beige next to it, it might look a little bit odd. Don't know. No, looks odd to me anyway. So I went with stamping on white, and then I pulled out some. The ink that I tend to use when I'm stamping this sort of thing is VersaFine, because it's from the same people as make Memento and the Stays On, Tsukiniko. But this one specifically says that it is good for watercolour. Where does it say that? Longest lasting pigment ink pad, perfect for using watercolours to colour stamped images. And because one of my options when I'm colouring things in is to use water-based, so watercolours, watercolour pencils, ink tints from Derwent, and sometimes actually watercolour, and then I've got some watercolour, water-based markers and things as well. It gives me options basically. And then I pulled out my really old die set. Don't know whether you've still got this one, anyone? Layering Circles dies, because I didn't want to have something too fancy around the edge, but it's got a little scallop. So drum roll please. Here we go. One coloured in kangaroo that I'm going to tuck in just there. One coloured in grey wombat. One coloured in koala. One coloured in chocolatey brown black wombat. And those will go with my journal spot. And then 2 little kookaburra. Just bringing some baubles to the scene. I know that male and female kookaburra look different, but not having them in my country, I am unfamiliar with their plumage, so I need to go and find some pictures to have a look and make sure that I do it right. With the kangaroo, I went for a grey kangaroo rather than a red kangaroo, which are actually kind of more this kind of colour, slightly russety. Yeah, I went for a grey one because that was the one that I found with the Joey. There's a group on Facebook that I'm part of called Free Reference Animal Images for Artists or something. And the photographers there are incredibly generous with their photos and will allow me to use it. And it'll allow me to use their pictures to as references to colour things, to draw from as well, all sorts. They are very, very wonderful people. And that was how I found out that there are 2 different colours of wombat. what I used pencil wise for these was actually the Stampin' Up watercolour pencils. The fun thing about watercolour pencils is that you can use them as coloured pencils and just do all of the ordinary blending and things that you would do with normal coloured pencils. So on the kangaroo and the koala and this wombat, I used a mixture of the basic black and the basic grey. And then for the little Christmas pudding, and then for this little wombat, you can see my little swatches on the back. I used early espresso combined with some of the basic black, because I've tried to give them a little bit of a 3D look with shadows underneath the chin, underneath their legs and arms and things. And then for the red, I've used, depending on where it is and what it's like, what sort of red we're going with, I used the cherry cobbler, and then the other one that they've got is real red. If you get both sets of the watercolour pencils, you've got a really good range of colours. I think it's excellent. The only extra colour that I added in was this particular green, because obviously Peaceful Pine is a colour that's this year's InColor. So it's in for 2 years and then it'll be out again. So they're not going to release a new watercolour pencil for each set of InColors that they bring in, because pencils last you a very long time. So I pulled in, I think it's wintergreen. Give me half a moment. Pulled in this one, yeah, wintergreen, juniper green, number 165 from the Faber-Castell Polychromos range. We happen to have a local art store that sells those open stock, which is fantastic. And yeah, and they're really nice professional ones. So I've used that for my greens. Apart from this one, which I actually used the lemon lime, yes, that one from Stampin' Up, because I thought it looked better as a string of fairy lights. Okay, so that's my little hack for when you haven't got any embellishments that work. Just make your own. Stamp an image, colour it in. My go-to is generally colour pencil. Other people's go-to is markers. Some people it's watercolour. Whatever works for you. I will be doing a how to colour in stamps, but I haven't got round to it yet. Okay, till the next time, happy crafting. Thank you for joining me. Bye!